being designated. There's ducks on the oval.
On the pond.
So this is being designated a neighbourhood place of last resort. I don't think it gets the designation of a neighbourhood safer place. So a safer place is something that's being measured to a certain level. So it's to a BAL 29 rating, so heat exposure up to 29 on the edges, and there's sufficient space to get away from it. Am I right? Yep.
No, we just had that chat. We were wondering before what the threshold was.
Yeah, so, and here they weren't necessarily able to get it, and so this is a place of last resort, they're calling this. So people take that to mean a neighbourhood safer place, but what a place of last resort means that you come here if there is nowhere else to go and everything's fallen apart. You don't come here if the smoke's around and you're a little bit worried. If that's the case, you get out of town. You come here if that road's closed, that road's closed, that road's closed, and there's smoke and everything everywhere and you don't know what's safe, you come here. That's what it's supposed to be used for. Now, I don't know, I assume there's people around here that have horses and things like that. So you might get people turning up with horses. It's not I'm going to forget the name. It's not a marshalling ground after a fire where you can take horses and stay. This, in theory, is that you get here at the last resort, you park your car well away from the oval and you go and sit in the middle of that oval and you try and stay safe during the fire. That's what it's designed for. But the communication, well, you guys are local, is that what's been communicated to you about this?
This is a place where
you come in an absolute emergency.
Yeah, because there's confusion as to where is a safe place, or do we all? Not everyone knows to just, if it's code red, to leave the town. So there will be some people think this is where they need to come, regardless of what it says on the sign, whether it be neighbourhood safe place or last resort, or if there's no context as to, it's just an absolute assumption. Yeah.
And like we talked about with the school earlier, if people leave their cars over there and walk through, maybe not such an issue, but you're going to have a lot of vehicles in here and there's not a huge amount of fuel, but if you did have one start to go off, the rest of them would go off and it wouldn't be a great spot. And so Marysville, not just because Anna's here, but everyone went to the oval in Marysville when that was inundated on Black Saturday, and there was a heap of embers that came down, started all sorts of spot fires which joined together, which was quite dangerous, and it was a really challenging fire management condition there, and unfortunately lots of people in the town lost their lives. But someone who took this course a number of years ago was actually on that oval, and he said you were lying on the ground struggling to breathe. That's how bad it was. So you're not coming here for a picnic if this is your place of last resort. The ducks won't be on the pond. This is going to be dry, it's going to be dusty, it's going to be smelly, it's going to be smoky, it's going to be loud from the stuff burning around. People are going to be scared, they're going to be worried, and they're not their best person when they're doing that. So this should only be used as a place of last resort in your plan. And really, realistically, you wouldn't want a lot of people here. So it's 200, 300 people in Linton, is that right?
Our ABM, recent statistics, it says 800.
800.
Yeah, so it's probably made up of about 400 with the inner sort of circle of Linton, and then the other sort of four to five, and the other three are sitting sort of in a bit more deeper into the forest or the local area.
So you wouldn't want 400 people turning up here. You wouldn't want 400 people to have their bushfire survival plan says, I'm going to the oval. It would be a lot of people on that oval struggling and challenging. And I mean, we talked about horses before, but people would bring their cat, their dog, their rabbit, all those domestic pets that they have at home that they're worried about. And I would too if I was stuck, but you don't want all those animals here adding to the stress and the noise. So it should be a place of last resort, not a place that you plan to go to, if that makes sense. And you should have more escape routes. Like, we talked about the weather, getting out of town on those bad weather days, but like we've talked about, watching the apps if there's smoke and it looks like the fire might impact on the town, getting out of here before that gets out of control. What's the worst thing if you drive into Smilersdale or Ballarat and you have a coffee and the fire's out, you come home again? But not a lot of people will do that. They'll consider that too disruptive, and if they do it once, they might not do it a second time because they think they were fine the last time. So it's a real challenge to the agencies of getting people out of the area. If we were teaching this course 20 years ago, well, even 15 years ago, would have been talking about how the safest thing you can do is stay at your home and defend. But that's no longer put forward because Black Saturday, so many people who thought they were right to defend unfortunately perished during that fire or suffered a lot of mental trauma. So the biggest determination of whether people are going to evacuate early is the fact that they've defended their house before. If you've defended a house before, you never want to do it again. And that's what the evidence tells us. So most people don't expect the time, the energy, and all those sorts of things that go into it, because it lasts for hours. There's I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name. Someone's got a diary online about during Black Saturday when he defended his house. He said it was about 6 or 7 hours that he was continuously defending his house from embers and flames, and his heart actually got stuck in a higher heartbeat and couldn't get down, and the road was blocked, so they ended up having to trek him out to an ambulance to get him to the hospital to zap his heart so they could actually get his heart back to a normal rate, but it was stuck at around 160 or 180 for a long period of time. And he was a fit person, he'd followed all the rules, but he just wasn't prepared for the amount of time and the energy required mentally and physically to do it. So now it's very much about only stay if you're very well mentally and physically prepared to defend your house. And even on those worst days, get out of there, no one's really up to it. So that's part of the plan, and that's why we start talking about evacuations and then fallback positions as well. Anybody, any questions?